You'll get the first question, and then we'll just rotate back and forth.
Yeah.
And then when we come to closing statements, you're going to be fine, Yolanda. You just don't worry. You're just going to be talking, okay? And then closing statements, you'll start. So you'll be looking over this way as opposed to at me.
Yeah.
But, so all you're just going to do is just pretend you're just talking to like a family member or something like that.
Yeah.
We're chatting.
And
That's
if y'all
it.
need to look more to, that's okay too.
Exactly.
Like just to have
Yeah.
eye contact with somebody.
Yeah, when
like,
they're
we'll-
asking the questions, you
we'll-
can
yeah,
look
when
there.
Yeah.
And then when you answer,
Just ignore the camera.
yeah.
Yep. We will
Whoops.
start. Let's see, 2 minutes. Yes,
I'm
sir.
good.
Ms. Franklin. Okay. You are correct. Instead of the name of the event, I was like, vote.
I like that.
And
Nonpartisan.
Exactly. Is up. We have our slate up. Our mics are closed. So I'll just count us down if everybody's ready.
Yep.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
hello, everyone, and welcome to our Houston County Warner Robins Political Forum, sponsored by Robins Regional Chamber. I'm Frank Malloy, glad to have you with us as we head into another election season. Of course, early voting starts soon, May 2nd, and Election Day is May 24th. It's not that far off. We have 4 different races we'll be going through today. The first one is Houston County Board of Education District 2, and the candidates for that race are the incumbent, Lori Johnson, and the challenger, Yolanda Franklin. Questions will be given today by April Bragg. She is the president and CEO of Robins Regional Chamber, and Wanye Reese, 13 WMAZ morning anchor. We appreciate them taking time to be with us. We certainly appreciate our candidates being here. And without further ado, we will get underway. We'll start with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then we'll go through questions, and then the candidates will finish with a 1-minute closing statement. Opening statements, our first one, Lori Johnson, you have 2 minutes. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Chamber, for having us and hosting. My name is Lori Johnson, and I'm a small business owner here in Warner Robins. My family and I relocated to Warner Robins 20 years ago, and we've been here ever since. I'm a former speech-language pathologist and a former educator. I've worked in various school systems in Georgia and South Carolina prior to transitioning into the insurance industry. I have been on the Board of Education now for 7 years, and am so proud of our school system and the way that we all work together and the way that we all work together to make sure that we are a fiscally sound and strong school system.
All right, opening statement now, Yolanda Franklin, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Frank. My name is Yolanda Franklin, born and raised right here in Warner Robins, Georgia. I have 4 daughters, and myself and my daughters have all been educated in the Houston County school system. I currently work in the Department of Defense, been there for over 30 years. My family has deep roots here in the Houston County area. I'm a servant leader. In my spare time, I enjoy traveling and also collecting spare coins. I'm looking forward as I run for the Houston County, for the Board of Education Post 2 position, to stand on strong education, strong schools, and strong communities.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now start with the question and answer portion. First question will go to Ms. Franklin, and it comes from Wanye Reese.
Yes, so our first question for you, Ms. Franklin, why are you running for the Board of Education, and if elected, what will be your priorities?
Thank you so much. I'm running for the Board of Education because I do believe in strong education, strong schools, and strong communities. My 4 daughters, again, were raised and went to the schools here, and I was very much involved in their educational process. And because of that, I'm passionate about giving back to the community just as much as I put into my own children. And so with that, I am looking to run for the Board of Education, Post 2, to ensure that our students get what they need and build a trustworthy community between the Board of Education and our school system and the kids.
All right, thank you. Same question, Ms. Johnson, 1 minute to answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The question was my motivation an
Yeah.
interest to be on the board.
Why are you running for the Board of Education continuing, and if elected, what will be your priorities?
Okay, thank you. My motivation behind running has been and still is that I'm still an educator at heart, and still care a lot about our system and our students and our teachers that come through our system. It's a way for me to stay connected to those education roots. And I think that we have a good team in place. I think that we are able to have a balanced budget, set policies that are fair and enforce them, and make sure that we have effective leadership from the top down, which starts with our superintendent, which is our job to hire and evaluate and make sure that our leadership from the top down is strong.
All right, thank you. Our second question will come from April Bragg, and it's directed to Ms. Johnson first.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a particular issue that has motivated you to serve on the Board of Education?
Thank you for that question, April. There's not one specific issue that has made me run or keeps me interested, just like there's not one school or one group of people that keep me interested. Even though I know we have different districts, I like to think of it as we are just 7 people that represent the entire county. And we do work as a team to make sure that we are keeping every person and every stakeholder in our thoughts when we are making decisions and moving forward with things.
All right, Ms. Bragg, if you want to repeat the question for Ms. Franklin.
Sure.
Please, thank you.
Just flip cards. Is there a particular issue, basically, that has motivated you to serve?
Not a particular issue that's motivated me to serve our community, but one of the things that I do want to see addressed is each student and teacher having the access to the best tools for completing academic information, their learning, their homework, their instructions, everything to make them excel in education and help our teachers. So that's one of the things that motivated me to do, to run.
All right, our next question comes from Wanye Reese. Ms. Franklin, you will handle it first, please. 1 minute for the answer.
So, Ms. Franklin, what do you see as the primary job for the Board of Education?
I would say the primary, thank you so much for that question. I would say the primary, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah,
for
so
me?
what do you see as the primary job and or work for the Board of Education?
I would say that the primary job for our Board of Education is to make sure that we set the policy for our school system, make sure that we're strong, make sure that our, number one, our kids are educated properly so that they can excel not just when they're in school, but also when they leave out of post-secondary education. Also, to make sure that we communicate and be transparent to the community on what our school system is doing.
All right, Ms. Johnson, 1 minute for the answer. Again, Wanye, the question.
And the question again for you, what do you see as the primary job for the Board of Education?
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's outlined that the Board of Education's responsibilities are to make sure that the budget is balanced and to make sure that we are being good stewards of our school system's money. And we take that very seriously. The second main job role is to make and change and uphold policies and procedures for our county. And then the third main responsibility is to hire, evaluate, and make sure that our superintendent is being held accountable and doing his job or her job. I also think that it is part of our job to engage with community members, stakeholders, teachers, students, and be available to receive input and listen to suggestions and even complaints and relay those up the proper channels. Even if it's not something that we as a board per se are at liberty to address for the bylaws, I at least think it's something that we definitely have conversations with the executive cabinet about.
All right, our next question will come from April Bragg. Ms. Johnson, you will go first with the 1 minute response.
All right.
Yes. And this question is for both of you. What, in your view, are the major issues facing our school district, and how do you plan to address them?
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to say that I'm very thankful for the CARES Act money that our school system has received, because not only has it helped to alleviate some issues, but it has also helped us to buy additional resources and buy Chromebooks for all of our students. I know that that's something we had been working towards. I'm going to say technology is always a challenge to keep up with it, because it seems to be changing as fast as we can keep up with it. I know that some stakeholders have communicated a concern about curriculum, and I too have some concerns about curriculum, but also know that that comes from the state mandated standards. So even though we can enhance those and work on our own timeline, there's not much we can do to address the curriculum in that. And I think that equality is very important. I want to make sure that all of our students, no matter their demographic, economic, or academic background or exceptions, I want to make sure that everyone has equal access to all opportunities.
All right, Ms. Franklin, I get the question, major issues facing the school system and how you would address them.
Thank you so much. A few things that we've all know that we faced is class size, so the ratio, being able to talk and communicate to the school board. So I'm looking for us to listen more to the people who are cultivating our children's love for learning. Looking for our Board of Education to possibly put on town hall meetings, quarterly meetings, so that we can hear the voices, hear what's being said, so we can make sure that a change can be implemented, and hear the problems that are out there, if any, good, bad, or indifferent, making sure that we earn the trust of the community so that we can excel in our education.
All righty, our next question comes from Wanye Reese. Ms. Franklin, you will handle this one first, please.
All right then, Ms. Franklin. So what do you currently see right now as the strengths in the school district as far as Houston County goes?
Thank you so much for that question, Rice. I've done a little research. One thing that I think is the camaraderie. I think we've done a great job at building the team, being one, being unified. I think getting along. Our stats, we're number 8 on as far as where we sit as far as the athletics. Just the camaraderie, the teamwork, and working as a team. I think that's one of our strengths that we do have right now.
All right, Ms. Johnson, your turn to answer the question about the strengths of the Houston County school system.
Sure, thank you. I would say that one of our main strengths right now is safety. Safety is our #1 priority, and we are making sure that we are always focusing on facilities being updated with security, traffic control, working with our SROs, and routine practice drills. I think that's very important. I think that our infrastructure and our facilities is going well. We are able to grow as our system grows, and we are able to repurpose other buildings. And I think that the bar has been set by many who have come before me, Dr. Melnick, Dr. Toby Hill, Chairman Fred Wilson, that as a board, like Ms. Yolanda said, we do work together as a team, which means that we may disagree and discuss delicate issues in private, but we don't air our dirty laundry in public, and we always speak to each other and with each other honestly and respectfully, and I think that's what makes our board work so well.
All right, next question from April Bragg. Ms. Johnson, you will get the first chance to answer this.
What are your thoughts on the district budget? As a board member, how will you determine your budget priorities?
Thank you so much.
Ms. Johnson, you go
Was
first.
that to me?
Oh.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
that was me. Okay, could
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, the
would you
budget.
repeat that? I'm
So
sorry.
your thoughts on the district budget, and as a board member, how would you determine your budget priorities?
Okay, thank you for that, and I really don't have concerns about the budget. We meet every month and go over the numbers, and we are fiscally sound. We are very lucky in our community to be able to say that. And I think that with the guidance and direction of the finance department, they do a great job in keeping the board informed on where we are, and the entire executive committee does a great job of helping us to prioritize where we need to spend that money. So we've got some great people in place and great leadership at that level.
All right, Ms. Franklin, your turn. The question deals with the district budget and budget priorities.
Thank you so much. I would agree with Ms. Lori is that we do have a sound budget. We have enough funding to take care of what needs to be taken care of for our students and our teachers. I would also add that it is being managed properly, looking at how the minutes of the board, looking at how the budget is ran, how it's written out, how it's outlined. It looks, the process is stringent, and the process for how it's spending, how the money is spent is being managed properly. So I would say that's one of the strengths of our Board of Education.
All right, we have time for one more question. The question will come from Wanye Reese, and we'll go to Ms. Franklin first. Wanye.
All right, Ms. Franklin, as we all know, Houston County is continuing to grow every day. So how would you work with the board and administrative staff to ensure that the district is meeting the needs created by this continued growth?
That is a great question. Thank you so much. We are growing. Houston County's growing really fast. I would make sure that we work with the board, make sure the community is aware of all changes, make sure that the community is brought in on from the beginning. And I would make sure that as we work together as a team during this growth, make sure that as we grow, we take time to look at the budget, look at our education facilities, our students and teachers, and make sure that they're okay. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Johnson, 1 minute response, meeting the needs of the continued growth of the Houston County school system.
Thank you. I think that it's very important that we continue to work with our government partners, the county commissioners, and our cities and their leaders to make sure that we all are on the same page when it comes to growth, and when we do combined projects together, such as the tennis courts and the upcoming natatorium. I think it's important that we are progressive in making sure that we have land secured for future buildings, especially in the areas of our county that are growing faster than others. I think it's important to partner with our intergovernmental parties to go in on some projects so that we can do some bigger projects that will serve the whole county.
All right, we will now finish up with 1 minute closing statements. Ms. Franklin, you will have your first chance here with 1 minute, a closing statement, please.
Okay, thank you so much. It takes a village for strong education, strong schools, and strong committees. And I believe our role is not to run a school, but ensure the schools are run well. So I look forward to the campaign and look forward to, as we finish out the Board of Education post-2 election. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Johnson, 1 minute, your closing statement, please.
Yes, sir, thank you. It has been an honor to serve for the past 7 years. I feel like I have come a long way in learning how to be a good board member and to know exactly what our role is, not only on the board but in the community as well. And it would be an honor to continue to serve you in the capacity as a Board of Education member.
All right, we want to thank Lori Johnson and Yolanda Franklin for taking their time to be here. They are running for the Houston County Board of Education District 2 seat. We also want to thank April Bragg and Wanye Reese. We appreciate you taking time to be with us again. The election process is underway. May 2nd is the start of early voting. Tuesday, May 24th is Election Day. We hope you take what you hear from the candidates, put that to use when you go to the ballot box. And thanks for being with us.
had 10 candidates in the first. Right.
Let me know.
See where's it good? Okay. We are good? Okay, stand by. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Houston County Political Forum, sponsored by the Robbins Regional Chamber. I'm Frank Malloy with 13 WMAZ. We're glad to have you with us as we move into the political season here, counting down to Election Day, which is May 24th. It's not all that far off. Right now, we're pleased to present the Houston County Board of Education District 6. We have 4 candidates who are wanting to win that position right now. They are Tim Baggerly, Jarrett Davis, Jeremy Furman, and Mark Ivory. We welcome them all here. We appreciate you taking time and your willingness to serve. Answering our questions today will be 13 WMAZ morning anchor Wanya Reese and April Bragg. She is president and CEO of Robbins Regional Chamber, and we certainly appreciate them taking their time. We'll begin with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement. Then we'll go into the question and answer portion, and then we will finish up with closing statements. 2 minutes for the opening statements, 1 minute to respond to the questions, and a 1-minute closing statement. Without further ado, we're ready to get underway. Opening statements, we'll start with Mr. Baggerly. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Tim Baggerly. I was born and raised in Overland Park, Kansas. 1991, the Air Force brought me south of the Mason-Dixon line, and I've been down in the South ever since then. I was an instructor, air battle manager instructor down at Tyndall Air Force Base. My wife Sherry and I moved up to Warner Robins in 1999. I flew the Joint Stars for 11 years and retired in 2011. I have been, I just finished my doctorate with the University of Phoenix, educational leadership with an emphasis in educational technology, but just looking for my place here in the community as to where I can best utilize those skills, and it just came up where the school board seemed to be a perfect fit for that. So I'm honored to be here, Miss April. Thank you very much for your invitation and for the Chamber of Commerce. Just like I said, it's an honor to be up here with my distinguished candidates as well, and just looking forward to having our community know a little bit better about me, and hopefully can secure some votes for this opportunity. Again, it's an honor to be here.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Davis, 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Yes, sir. I am Jarrett Davis, and April in the Chamber. I appreciate it, and Channel 13 as well. I think my best thing to offer is perspective. God has granted me with the ability to have a spouse as a teacher. She's been teaching in Houston County for 18 years. And like most of you, I have children in the school system. I will have a child in elementary, middle, and high school next year. And I think it's very important for a parent to have a voice on the Board of Education. And depending on the outcome of this election, after the next school year, there's a very real possibility that there will not be parental voice on the board. And so that's why I think it's very important for me to run, and that's why I would appreciate your vote.
All right, 2-minute opening statement, Mr. Furman.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Jeremy Furman, and my vision for the Houston County school system is that we are pioneers in the 21st century, and that we are leaders in education, not just here, but in Middle Georgia, but all over Georgia and beyond. I have a vested interest in the success of the school system because my daughter will graduate with the class of 2040 from here, and I want her peers, and the more than 30,000 students that we serve to be as best prepared for the real world as possible. I'm running for those in the classroom that feel like no one is paying attention. And I stand with the teachers just like I stood with them during the 2020 shutdown, and I will never forget how we came together to literally reinvent how we did our jobs. Teachers have a lot on their plate, and the fact that they have to deal with a draconian jeans policy is absurd. As a band director, I had the opportunity and the experience of being a bridge between the school system and between parents. And I saw what happens when parents and the community come together towards a common goal. When we do this, y'all, we can accomplish unlimited possibilities. I believe my credentials speak for themselves. In under 10 years, I was blessed to be elected the Teacher of the Year at 2 different high schools in 2 different counties. I believe my fresh perspective and my skill set could be an asset to the school board when making informed decisions moving forward. I'm not running against anyone here. I'm running for you and the other 163,000 residents of Houston County. Visit votefurman.com to learn more and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at votefurman. Thank you.
And we'll wrap up our opening statements. Mr. Ivory, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here today. My name is Mark Ivory. I'm a native here of Houston County. I graduated from Northside High School in 1988. After graduation, I had different scholarship offers in playing sports and football, but I chose to go in the United States Army. 1989, just been in the Army a short time, I was burned nearly 39% of my body. Spent a few years rehabbing, and by the way, I met my beautiful wife while I was in the hospital during my burn session, so that's what I call it. But I went back to school, got my degree in mathematics, and that was a great thing. Actually, it was in math education. I started teaching at Southwest High School, and left Southwest High School, moved on to Northside High, and I kind of bounced around a little bit because I got promotions when it came to football and coaching. Went in Bleckley County, I was Teacher of the Year, my first year there. First and only year at Bleckley County High School. Moved back to Houston County, taught at Bonaire Middle, and from Bonaire Middle, moved on to Thompson Middle School, where I spent 17 years as the athletic director of Thompson Middle School. Also was elected by my peers as Teacher of the Year at Thompson Middle School. Really enjoyed my time teaching there. Enjoyed the kids and the system, and I had a blast. I retired last year after 25 years, and just knew that being a part of the Board of Education in some facet I could help the kids and give back to the community. So that's why I'm running for school board, post 6, and that's countywide. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate that. Thanks very much for your opening statements. All right, now we'll begin the question and answer portion. Again, candidates, you will have 1 minute to answer the question. First question will come from Wanye Reese, and Mr. Davis, you will have the first chance to answer.
Yes, so Mr. Davis, why are you running for the Board of Education, and if elected, what will be your priorities?
Okay, so I am running the main reason I'm running is I figured out the lack of parental voice on the board. And so that was my first initial reason. And then when I started digging into it, I started seeing an issue with, we're so data driven that I feel like some of our students and maybe even the teachers are getting lost in the shuffle. And so we're starting to make decisions more based off of numbers than we are faces. And so my goal would be transparency with the teachers as well as the parents, and also individual learning.
All right, Mr. Furman, the question deals with why are you running and your priorities, please.
Sure. So I'm running for the teachers, and there's so many that I've talked to across the county that share their concerns, but they're scared. They're scared to share their opinions, and well, they're not scared to share their opinions. They're happy to share, but they're like, please don't use my name, because they're scared of retaliation. And I'm running for them because I've walked in those shoes, I've walked in the hallways, and I know where the opportunities for advancement and improvement are. And that's what I hope to do, is to improve and advance what we already have here. There's so many great things going on, and I believe if we continue that, we could do great things. In addition to that, I want to expand my priorities are expanding our financial literacy offerings and having a fine arts director for the county. Thank you.
Mr. Ivory, why are you running and your priorities, please?
Yes, sir. I'm running for the board for Post 6. Really want to have an opportunity to give back to this community. This community have done so much for me. Because of people and educators in this community is what inspired me to go to college and become an educator. I want to do the same thing for the people in this community, kids in this community. Because of the people here, when I retired last year, I opened up a STEM after-school program. So I'm continually trying to give back to this community. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We'll wrap up the question on your priorities and why you're running with Mr. Baggerly.
Thank you. Here in Houston County, we have a tradition of excellence. We want to make sure that we maintain that excellence. We've been to several of the board meetings and highlight the achievements of our students. And of course, we're not without our challenges. And I think that's the priority that I have, is to make sure that within those challenges that that we share good ideas and that we can communicate and coordinate that. And not one person has the answer to that. That's what I believe. And I believe it's important to be able to communicate, collaborate to best serve the interests of our educational community, particularly the students as they are headed out. But to facilitate coordination is going to be my priority out there as well. Thank you.
And our next question will come from April Bragg, and it will go first to Mr. Furman.
Gentlemen, thanks again for all of you participating and being here. Some of you mentioned opportunities in your last response, so I'd like to know what, in your view, are the major issues facing our school district, and how do you plan to address those?
Sure. Thank you, April. So for me, the biggest issue I see is teacher morale. And if our vision is to be world-class, we need to engage with the teachers. We need to ask them where your needs are. They shouldn't be afraid to share their opinions, because they are the front lines. And that is an opportunity I feel like that we could do better on. How we do that? Having teacher advisory councils, like asking them, what do you see that could be fixed? And other opportunities are, just investing more in the fine arts. That's what I got.
All right, Mr. Ivory, major issues facing the school system.
The major issues that I see today, number one, as it pertains to the kids, are bullying. I think our cell phone use in the school system has really gotten out of control, and we have to find a way to scale back on that to stop a lot of bullying. I think that's a big problem with the bullying. The second issue is the retention of the teachers that we currently have teaching, and recruiting new teachers to come into our system. We're losing so many teachers at a rapid rate because they're burnt out, and we got to find a way to retain them. And I think by giving them more money and less responsibility that they have now would be a fine way to do that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Baggerly, major issues facing the school system.
Well, in any community, discipline is incredibly important. And when you have the situations that have been mentioned here, whether it be teacher retention or the challenges that our teachers have or that our students have, with whether it be bullying or whatnot, we really need to work on discipline. And that's not only the actual noun verb of discipline, but how we're going to do that as well. And we need to identify how each member of our community, from the board to the administrators to the teachers and the students, and we need to pull in the parents as well. That's a critical link in our community. And as a board member, I see my primary responsibility is to make sure those 5 members of the educational community are communicating with one another and making sure that we're identifying those challenges and then work collectively to address those challenges.
And we'll finish up this question on major issues facing the district with Mr. Davis.
So I think a big issue we have is a lack of teacher voice in decision making countywide. One thing I would like to try to make happen is get teachers involved. They're in the classroom. They know better than anybody else what their students need. We have great teachers. We need to allow them to teach, but we also need to allow them to kind of steer the ship as far as how we need to teach each student. And that goes into testing as well. We're so focused on state tests and all of these standardized tests where that just gives us a little snippet of what our kids need in the classroom. And so I'm an advocate for individual learning plans and things like that that will allow each student to learn where they're at and each teacher to teach where they need to be.
All right, we're through 2 rounds of questions. Our third question will come from Wanye Reese. Mr. Ivory, you will go first on this one.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Ivory, what do you see as the primary job for the Board of Education?
As a board member, I think our job, 3 things: to take care of the budget for this county, and I think the members of our board right now have done a great job managing that budget. We have a lot of projects going on, and things are looking really bright, in Houston County, but more can be done. So the budget is one thing. I think setting policy and procedures for the school system is another one. And the last one is to make sure that our superintendent is really doing what he's supposed to do. And I think he is the number 1 employee, or the only employee of the board. So those are the items, 3 things. Thank you.
Mr. Baggerly, primary job of a board member?
Well, with my bachelor in music education degree, I look at the educational community much as a music director would look at a choir, where you have 4 voices of the choir. The board directs the choir, and you have administrators, teachers, students, and their parents. And I think it's critical that the board provides leadership for each of those positions to make sure that the communication and the coordination that they have through that blends in perfect harmony, where not one voice is greater than the other, and that there's no disciplinary problems that we have as people communicate with that, because that's the only way we're going to identify the challenges that we have in our educational system.
All right, Mr. Davis, the question about primary job of a board member.
I think the primary job of a board member is going to be service and advocacy. I've said since day 1 of deciding to do this that I feel like a board member's job is going to be 90% service and 10% making hard decisions. And so my goal is going to be to serve well enough during the 90% that they know that the 10% of the time I'm making those decisions, that I know where they're at, what they need, where their heart is, where their head is, and those types of deals. And so I just want to be an advocate for the parents, for the students, and for the teachers.
And we'll wrap up the question. Mr. Furman, primary job of a board member.
Sure. So, as an individual board member, I think it's the responsibility to listen, be accessible, and to be approachable. But as a collective, the Board of Education is like the legislative branch. The superintendent is like the executive branch, and we need to be a balance to that. Like my colleague said, the primary job by law is to set budget, hire the superintendent, and approve policy. But I think it's okay to talk to constituents and engage with them and see what their points of view are. So when we come to the table to talk about it, about setting policy, we know where the community is.
All right, we're back around now to Mr. Baggerly. The question will come from April Bragg.
Thank you. So speaking of the budget, we'd love to hear each of your views on the school district's budget. And as a board member specifically, how will you determine your budgetary priorities?
Well, that's a great question, Miss April, and it's difficult from a single perspective, and I think that's the magic, if you will, of the board, that you have so many expertise, so many people with expertise with that. As far as the priorities, they need to be identified, whether it be academically or from any kind of other support that we have as well. But it's our responsibility then to take those inputs, find out what's been productive for our kids in the past, and those things that have not been quite so productive, and put that as a part of the budget as well. It's difficult to pull that in to say specifically what those numbers would be, but again, you have to look at what we've done in the past and then move forward with that. Make it a cyclic evaluation as well.
Mr. Davis, budget priorities.
You know, we're the 12th largest school district in Georgia, and we have 39 campuses right now and working on several others. And so I think as a school district, we've done a great job at being fiscally responsible. But I think there are a few areas lacking. I think if we could figure out how to get another person in each school system to help the teacher with some of the things that we're trying to do to be physically responsible and get money from the state and other avenues. The teachers are having to do a lot of extra work to make that happen. And so I would love to see us get some help for the teachers in each school system, or in each school campus.
All right, Mr. Furman, budget priorities.
Sure, I believe it's the responsibility of the board to be good stewards of the money. And our most valuable asset is our students, because they are the future. So it's so important that we invest in them. Specifically, my priorities are to increase per pupil expenditure. And with research that I've done, Houston County ranks 110th in per student or per pupil expenditure. We are below the state average for how much we invest in our students. I believe we can increase the classroom allotment so teachers can buy supplies for their classroom so they're not having to buy it out of their own pocket. And I believe we need to improve the infrastructure of underserved schools.
And we'll finish up the question on budget priorities with Mr. Ivory.
I think our board has done a tremendous job with our budget. But like Mr. Furman said, and I stated in our last forum, that in Houston County, we're way below the state average. And our state ranks 34th in the nation as far as how much money we spend on each student. And we got to do a better job. There's money out there in our community from East Bloss and different avenues that we receive money. But some of that money got to be generated back to the kids. And I would love to see our local supplement for our teachers increased so that teachers don't have to go in their pocket all the time. And I know I had to do it while I was teaching, go in our pocket all the time to buy supplies for the kids.
All right, we're a little more than halfway through this political forum. The candidates here are for the Houston County Board of Education District 6. We appreciate them being here. We'll continue our question and answer. Next question will come from Wanye Reese. It goes to Mr. Davis first.
Alrighty then, well, it's a fact. We all know Houston County is continuing to grow. So how would you work with the board and administrative staff to ensure the district is meeting the needs created by this continued growth?
I don't know. It is growing at an exponential rate, and so that is something that, you know, they have somebody, the school board has somebody working on that all the time, trying to figure out where the next locations will be, you know, where they're having to redistrict. And one thing that the school board does is try to keep the same amount of students in each, so that those funds and things are more easily controlled. And so, you know, I think it's about being intentional. We can't wait for those things to happen and then react to them. We have to get out in front of that. And so I think that's going to be a big part of it, is staying out in front of it, see what those trends are, and make those adjustments before it's too late.
Mr. Furman, how do you go about dealing with the great growth of Houston County in the school system?
Yeah, so like I said, Houston County is definitely the county people want to come to, especially in this part of the state. But I think, you know, God's not going to bless us if we don't take care of what we already have. I visited all 39 schools, and I got to see with my own eyes, like, the disparity between them. And we have fantastic athletics. We have state championship teams and clubs all over the place, and even nationally recognized groups. But focusing not just on athletics, but also on the fine arts. Right now at the board office, the fine arts department is under the gifted education. But when you think about it from the perspective of percentages, think about all the elementary school students that take music, art, and then in middle school and high school, you have band, chorus, drama, art, and more. So expanding that as well as the CTAE courses.
Mr. Ivory, how do you deal with all this great growth in Houston County, the school system?
Hey, growth is a great thing. That means that we're a popular county, and that means that a lot of people want to come here and be a part of our system. And I think what we're doing, we're building new schools, new elementary schools. We have middle school coming up that's going to be built to take the relief off some of the other schools. We're trying to hire great teachers to serve in this county. So growth is good, and I think our county is way ahead of it. They're way ahead of the growth, and it's on point. Excuse me, it's on point. So I think it's good.
Mr. Baggerly, we'll wrap up the question on dealing with the growth of the Houston County school system.
You know, my 21 years of the Air Force, one of the greatest lessons that I learned is not what you know, but who you know and what they know. And we have some expertise in our executive cabinet that they can take the inputs and they can see the growth that's happening in our county, which is absolutely amazing. And we really need to identify the needs that are happening, whether it be academic or sports or any other the edifying subjects that we have for our kids. But it's really important to tap not only our cabinet, but also each member of that community to identify the needs and make sure that we are being proactive in growing with that community. Thank you.
All righty, our next question will come from April Bragg. It's directed to Mr. Furman first, please.
Yes. So each of you have addressed one or two issues that you're very passionate about taking forward in this role. I'm curious to know what you believe the district should do to address the support of teachers in learning within what you've already talked about, and specifically what changes you would recommend.
Sure. So again, being a teacher and being someone that has been in the classroom, you kind of see both sides of it. And you know, we cannot, you know, the phrase don't lose the forest for the trees, but it's important to invest in the trees too. So having an opportunity to validate the teachers in a way that's meaningful. Don't just listen or just don't hear them, like actually listen and try and implement some of those things. Teachers advisory councils at the district-wide level, perhaps all the teachers of the year come together and give input. And then the most important thing is to take action on that input.
All right, the question deals with supporting of teachers. Mr. Ivory, you've been a teacher for a long time.
Yes, I've been a teacher for a while, and one of the issues that we're dealing with, and because of COVID, teachers are not having enough time to plan, to take care of their classroom responsibilities. They're having to go home and do those things. And the county has done a good job. We've raised the pay of our substitutes, but we need to get more subs in for the teachers so we don't have to cover class. I say we because I just retired, but because we don't have to cover classes and not have our proper planning time. You need planning time to plan lessons, to be able to call parents, whatever you need to do, and not have to go home and stay up all night to do those things. And it's causing a lot of teacher burnout. So we need to invest in those teachers.
All right, teacher support, Mr. Baggerly.
Teachers live for that moment when their students actually get what they're talking about. And they push the information and push the information. When they see that, that's what they live for. And for the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do that, whether it be from the blended learning, going from distance to brick and mortar, our teachers have really been bound by having that one-on-one experience with their students, which is absolutely critical. And it teaches our kids social skills that they haven't had. And, you know, the old adage about, you know, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. I think our teachers have not been able to experience that from the pandemic and all the other restrictions that have been put on that. And I, as a board member, I will make sure that I do everything that I possibly can to work with the other members of the board to make sure that our teachers are getting what they need to get and they can experience that aha moment with their students.
All right, the question deals with supporting our teachers. Mr. Davis, you'll wrap up this question.
I think the most important thing we can do for our teachers is transparency. I feel like a lot of our teachers don't know why decisions are being made. They don't know that decisions are being even discussed until it's too late, or they haven't had any input in that. I think teachers got their degrees because that's what they like to do, is teach. And we're asking them to do a lot of things other than teach. And so they're having to spend a lot of time, like Mr. Ivory said, doing other things. They're not having the time to spend with the kids. And so I think, again, getting help to each school to alleviate some of the clerical work and things like that that our teachers are having to spend a lot of time with, that they're not being able to spend the time actually teaching the students.
All right, our next question comes from Wanye Reese. It goes to Mr. Ivory first.
All right, so staying on the topic of growth and resources, we have growing transportation needs and bus driver shortages already impacting us here at home. What more do you think should be done to address this concern?
Well, one way that we're handling it in our county is that we have coaches. We have a lot of coaches in the middle school and the high school, and they have bus driver's license. So, and those coaches have really, some of them on board, some of them not, but they've taken the responsibility of help transporting kids in the morning, transport them in the afternoon. We transport them to ball games. So we really take a lot of weight off of the bus drivers in the county by using the coaches. Now we need to make their pay a little better so we can attract more bus drivers for this county. And I think that will relieve it a lot.
All right, the question deals with transportation needs. Mr. Baggerly.
You know, I've talked about 5 members of our educational community. A 6th member is the local community. And obviously, like has been mentioned in the question, there's a need for people to drive buses. And if we can communicate and we can get help from our local community, obviously there's a hole to be filled there. And whatever enticements that we have there, we can certainly make that happen. Whether it be a budgetary concern or whatnot. But the call for help has to come out to our local community. And if I know anything about Houston County and her people, if there was a call to come out saying that our children need drivers for buses, for example, with this question, that help will come, and it'll come in droves.
All right, the question about transportation needs. Mr. Davis, your turn.
I mean, I think that just reflects a larger issue we have in all of society is drivers with CDL license. And so we're going to have to get in there and compete. We're going to have to make it pretty for those that have those to choose to work for us. Without having those discussions, you know, that's kind of where running a business, that's kind of what I do. I find these problems, we discuss it, we figure out a way to fix those issues. I know it is an issue. And that's one of those things we'll have to look at, and hopefully we can entice some that are using their CDLs for other things to come work for the school system.
And we'll finish up the question on transportation needs with Mr. Furman.
Transportation, you know, we have to get the students to and from school. But in addition to pay and extra benefits, something that we can do for the drivers that are already here is to look at how extra assignments such as traveling, taking a field trip are assigned. Right now it's done by seniority. So those at those new drivers, they can't get access to more money or more gigs because they aren't high enough on the totem pole. So I think looking at that, as a band director, we had to pay for the buses to go to football games. And that was a huge chunk of money that came out of our budget when we could be buying instruments for the students. Looking at it from the standpoint of like how to get there. Like we need to relieve the burden of transportation off of like the individual clubs and, like I said, for band by investing in the people that are already there and advertising it more.
All right, time now for our final question. The question and answer portion comes from April Bragg, and it goes to Mr. Baggerly first.
Yes, again, thank you all so much for being here. We're going to wrap up with this one. So with only 1 or 2 board meetings a month, all school boards are limited in what they can accomplish. How does or should the board decide what's most important?
Well, Miss April, that's a great question. And with the limited time, the chemistry that happens between the board members is critical with that. And really we have to, I mentioned earlier in my comments, we have to look at what has been successful for our community in the past. We have to take the inputs from the folks that have identified the challenges that we have and try to synthesize those into the things that we've that have been good for our community as well. But it goes to a board that works well together. I learned on early in this process that our board is not necessarily broken, and with the good kind of communication and coordination, give and take, rigid flexibility, we can continue to make this. But it has to be about working together as a community.
All right, Mr. Davis, board priorities.
I think it would be reflective of what it would be in our homes and in our businesses, and that's just prioritizing. And I think a lot of times with everything going on, we're forgetting that we're supposed to be prioritizing the kids. Like that's what the school is there for, is to teach the kids. And so I think that needs to take precedence over everything else. You know, we get into, budgeting issues and all those things, and all that is very important. But we've got to remember that if it wasn't for the kids, that's what we're doing it for. And so we've got to remember that that is the priority. And we need to remember those faces and not all the data behind it. And I think that will serve us well.
Mr. Furman, board priorities.
So the mission of the Houston County Board of Education is to produce high-achieving students. So whenever we approach a topic or a problem, we need to ask ourselves, does that fit the mission? Is this moving us forward towards that goal? More importantly, like what is best for the students? So I believe financial literacy, like we got to prepare them for the real world. And let me tell you, like trying to figure out taxes and other things, that can be tough. But imagine if we prepare them for those type of things that they're going to have to deal with post-graduation. I think that's our responsibility.
All right, we'll wrap up the question on board priorities with Mr. Ivory.
Well, every semester, all the teachers are sent out a survey. They'll send out a survey from my board or from my executive cabinet. So all of that information that the teachers turn back in on those surveys is compiled by our executive cabinet, and then those things are sent to our board office. And so that's how a lot of the budgets are set, the priorities of the county are set, the needs of the teachers are met. All of that comes from those surveys. So we already do a pretty good job of that. So.
We will finish up with 1-minute closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Ivory.
Well, again, my name is Mark Ivory, and I am running for Post 6, which is countywide, and I have a wealth of experience in the school system. Like I said, I've taught for 25 years, 23 years here in Houston County, and been a part of the athletic department, being an athletic director, and so we've had opportunities to meet and set policy, not just for our school, but for every school in the county. We meet and we set budgets for every school in the county. So a lot of times it may not work out for my school, but it's for the betterment of all the schools in Houston County. So I think I bring a lot of experience to the table when it comes to that, setting budgets and policies for all of our kids in the county.
All right,
Thank you so
1-minute
much.
closing statement. I'm sorry. Would you like to finish?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Furman, your turn.
I'm asking you very directly for your vote. I'm an independent thinker that wants to improve and advance on what we already have here. And I hope that you use your vote, which is your voice and an investment in the future, to vote for me, a 2-time Teacher of the Year with a long-term vested interest in the success here. We are at a point where if we we need to improve what we have here. And I just ask for your vote. Visit votefurman.com and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and vote Furman. Thank you.
Closing statement, 1 minute, Mr. Davis.
I think one of the worst things we can do is put decisions in the hands of the people who pay no price for being wrong. That's where I'm different than everybody else that's running for District 6, is I will have a child in elementary, middle, and high school next year. And our kids need your vote for Jarrett Davis.
We'll finish up. 1 minute closing statement, Mr. Baggerly.
You know, with my background of educational technology and educational leadership, both my master's degree and my doctorate now, I bring a passion for teaching that culminated, that actually started when I was a master instructor in the Air Force. We have a great school district here in Houston County, and as your board member, I want to make sure that we maintain that excellence and that we keep that going as well. There are some budgetary concerns that happen there as well, and we want to make sure, like my colleagues have said, we're good stewards with that money, with those funds as well. Love our kids, love our community here. It's an honor to be here. We have a sign in our living room that says, "I wasn't born in the South, but I got here as quick as I can." So I want to thank the board. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having us be here for this. And for more information about me, please look up docbagspost6.com. And I appreciate your vote on the 24th of May. God bless. Thank you.
I want to thank all of our candidates for Houston County Board of Education District 6 for taking the time to be here and provide us with some excellent answers. Tim Baggerly, Jarrett Davis, Jeremy Furman, and Mark Ivory. We appreciate your willingness to serve. We want to thank Wanye Reese and April Bragg for taking time to answer questions. Again, early voting underway May 2nd. Election Day is May 24th. And thank you for being with us to learn more about the candidates who are going to help run your school system. job, man. I don't want to get off kilter here. Give me about 30 seconds. I think I'm good enough now that we can figure this
Nothing
out.
he'd rather do than hang out with y'all in a political candidate forum on his birthday.
Yes. Hey, I'm having a good time. Because
It
there's
is
cake.
fun.
There's cake afterwards.
There is cake.
That is true.
Four, three, two.
Hello and welcome to this political forum, Houston County Political Forum. It is Houston County Commission Post 2. I'm Frank Malloy with 13 WMAZ. This political forum is sponsored by Robbins Regional Chamber. We certainly appreciate them getting the candidates here. We certainly appreciate our candidates for being here. There are 3 for Houston County Commission Post 2. Shane Gottwals, Zachary Ivester, and Steve Williams. And our panelists today answering the questions, April Bragg, President and CEO of Robbins Regional Chamber, and Wanya Reese, 13 WMAZ morning anchor, and we certainly appreciate them taking their time. All right, we'll begin with opening statements. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to give an opening statement, and then we'll proceed with question and answer, and we'll finish with closing statements. So we're underway now. Opening statements. We'll start with Mr. Gottwals. 2 minutes, sir.
Well, I want to begin by thanking April, the Chamber, all the folks at 13, the local legend, Frank Malloy, somebody I've looked up to for a long time. I've been in this community my entire life. I'm Shane Gottwals, running for Houston County Commission Post 2. Born and raised here, was born at the Houston Medical Center, met my wife at Mercy University, went to Central Fellowship Christian Academy. I'm a local guy. We've got 5 kids, all 10 and under. So these 5 kids, if I don't make it home for bedtime, they're going to go to sleep just fine. They're watching right now, so I'm giving them that warning. But we started 15 years ago a business that I guess our name is known for, and that is Gottwals Books. And we owe a great debt to this community because it was a little 1,500 square foot shop on Russell Parkway. We didn't know what we were doing, but over these 15 years, we've grown into a nationwide chain of 18 stores, and just really appreciate this community. So that's kind of the why of running. You know, if you ask me that question, I mean, I would say it's that there's an indebtedness that I feel. I recognize what this community's done for my family, just personally as people, but also for this business, and it never was highlighted more than when COVID first got started, and me and my wife wondered if we were going to have a business anymore when you have curbside and shutdowns and all that. And the community, though, rallied around us, and we never let any of our employees go. We kept things running pretty well during that time, and have had some of our best years ever since then. So that's the why of why I'm doing this. I look forward to using the CEO skills that I've developed, that Houston County has allowed me to develop by helping me build this large business, to really implement what I've done, what I've been able to accomplish, I guess, into this very special role of commissioner, because I see a lot of similarities when it comes to employee retention, with logistics, with infrastructure, with spending, budgeting. There's just so many things that I've been doing for 15 years, and I feel like it's time to give back some of those skills. So I thank you for your support.
All right, 2 minute opening statement, Mr. Ivester.
So my name is Zachary Ivester, and I always kind of like to start off things by offering my sincere gratitude to Mr. Frank Malloy, again, a legend, and happy birthday to you, by the way.
Thank you.
To the Robbins Regional Chamber, and then also kind of the other elephant in the room is I am the youngest candidate on the ballot, which I think is the most exciting thing for the citizens of Houston County. You're seeing the next generation of leaders step forward and come forward and want to build off of the legacy of our previous commissioners. Now, I think it's pretty important that I say that I'm born and raised here in Houston County. I'm a product of the Houston County school system. My grandmother was Watson, so Watson Road was named after her family. Where DJ Galaxy was, where now Badcock Furniture is, that was her farm, and where the old Publix once stood on Russell, that was my Aunt Thelma's farm. And so our blood roots kind of run deep down here in Houston County, and to make something really clear, I am a proud citizen of Houston County. I am proud to live here, and I don't plan on going anywhere. I am really supportive of Mr. Steve and Mr. Shane. I have nothing but the utmost respect for them because they both have taught me how to be a better candidate. Now, for the reason why, at the age of 16, I kind of got called into the funeral ministry. I don't call it a business, I call it a ministry. I serve people at one of their most difficult times, and they need someone to see at the end of the tunnel that there is light. And I have that honor and their privilege to help care for a family in a very difficult time. Also, as the Board of Commissioner, that's what you're doing. You're helping give back to the citizens of Houston County, and by doing so, I want to focus on employee recruitment and retention, promote youth in Houston County, department needs through the Sheriff's Office, Coroner's Office, EMS, and the Fire Department. So thank you, and thank you for my time.
All right, we'll wrap up our 2-minute opening statements. Mr. Williams.
Well, hello, I'm Steve Williams, and I'm honored to run for County Commissioner Post 2. Thank the Chamber of Commerce, also WMAZ for hosting this event, and thank the other candidates for attending as well. Teresa and I have lived, worked, worshiped in Houston County for over 30 years. And when you look at what we've done in raising 3 kids, and now we have 2 grandsons, it just amazes me at how time flies. And I look at all that service was to benefit all the folks we served. It wasn't about Steve, it wasn't about Teresa, it was about we wanted to give back and make a difference. That's the reason we were wanting to serve in this capacity. Teresa has encouraged me from day one. When I look at Houston County, and currently I serve on the Houston County Planning and Zoning Board. I've been doing that since about 12 years. And it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but I've had experience in working with the county commissioners at this point, but I also understand the dynamics of county government. And I think that's one of the things that you have to have some type of experience in relationships. I've expanded my relationships throughout this county for the last 30 years. I work in the banking industry, so I have relationships throughout the entire county. It's been a blessing to serve Houston County, but I also understand the importance of county government and the things that we do with public safety, with our growth, and then also the financial responsibility that comes with managing a budget that's over $159 million. I truly believe I'm the best candidate to serve in this position. The Chamber of Commerce, when I served with them, I was able to impact this organization in a positive way as well. Well, that's my spirit. I'm going to continue to do that here with the Chamber. Although I'm built to serve, it wasn't about Steve. It was about the people I serve. So you can feel safe with Steve.
We're off to a good start with our opening statements. We'll now begin with the question and answer portion. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. Our first question will come from Wanye Reese. Mr. Ivester, you'll have the first crack at this one.
Yes, and this question is going to be for all of you all. So what do you believe uniquely qualifies you to serve as a county commissioner?
Okay. And that's a great question. As the next county commissioner, I believe I am representing something so much larger than myself. I am representing 164,000 citizens of Houston County that has a story that's worth sharing and worth being applied to Georgia's most progressive county. In order to understand why we're serving, you must give back to the ones that you serve and understand what they're needing through the department needs and through fiscal budgeting and just giving back through the infrastructure. Through department, through the public works, through the coroner's office, through EMS, and through the fire department and sheriff's office. So I just want to give back, and so that's why.
All right, Mr. Williams, the question deals with unique qualifications to serve.
Well, as I stated in my opening statement, my life has been about service. And working in the banking industry over 30 years, but also serving the citizens of Houston County, but also regionally. And working with the Planning and Zoning Board, also working and serving on the Technical College Board, and also the Technical College Foundation of Georgia. So handling a lot of big budgets, but also chair of the Workforce Development Board, which encompasses 10 counties around Bibb County. And that's a budget over $3 million that I've been serving for I guess you can say the last 20 plus years. And that's probably my biggest qualification though, is that I trust God and I live my life with the highest integrity.
All right, we'll wrap up the question on unique qualifications for the position with Mr. Gottwals.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go back to, if you asked me this 15 years ago, I would say pretty much nothing. It's truly been this experience. It's different to be a CEO of an organization and also an owner versus being, a manager or an administrator. Nothing against this kind of roles, but the buck really does stop with me on everything. And it has been like that for 15 years when we had half of a part-time employee, versus 25 employees. But when it comes to employee retention, which I'll probably say a couple times tonight, which is so key for Houston County, it's so much easier to keep the employees we have than it is to lose them and try to replace them. Let's keep them happy and satisfied with what they're doing. But just investments. When do you expand? Logistics of things, infrastructure. All this is what we've done, expanding nationwide with a very small company that became something large. And I feel like I can translate that really well, uniquely well, into the role of commissioner.
All right, our next question will come from April Bragg. It'll go to Mr. Williams first. April?
Thank you, Frank. Gentlemen, it is evident that in your own right, each of you are dedicated servant leaders. So I'm asking you to shift gears a little bit. So beyond an opportunity to give back to this community, Why are you running for this position? More specifically, if elected, what will be your priorities?
Okay. Well, thank you, April. I guess the first thing is when you're joining any organization, you definitely want to go in and feel everything out. Basically, get to know everyone that's in the leadership positions. You're going to work hand in hand with your new county chair, but also you're going to work hand in hand with the other commissioners. So one of the first things I'm going to do is get to know about the county, about the enhance my knowledge on what our responsibilities are, and then also continue to relate to those employees, but also work together with our municipalities, because they are part of that, with Robins Air Force Base, with the other large industries in our area and small business. Those are integral to the growth of Houston County and the success of Houston County.
All right, Mr. Gottwals, why you're running, your priorities for the position?
Yes, I mean, the why, some of it just goes back to, I mean, every time there's an election cycle, I'll say things to myself like, well, I wish this person would run, or I wish, we had maybe, I mean, nothing against these gentlemen, I have a lot of respect for them, but, better candidates, so it had nothing to do with this race. I'll put that openly, but, finally, you just have to say, well, if I think I'm so smart or so capable or have some skill that I could bring to the table, I just need to throw my hat in there, or throw my name into the hat. So that's part of it, and I do feel, again, like those unique skills I can bring will benefit the county. I got to go back to the county employees. I got to go back to, or just consider Robins Air Force Base, spending. I mean, so much of what a commissioner does is money. I mean, it's a lot of money these folks are dealing with, those 5 seats that sit on that board. So with all that said, I understand the gravity of it, and I feel like I can do a lot with the resources that we've been given in Houston County.
I will finish up the question on why you're running and your priorities with Mr. Ivester.
So it's kind of simple. My whole life, since the age of 16, I've been serving the citizens of Houston County, and I want to continue that. I want to build off of the legacy of the previous commissioners, as we're a debt-free county, and that speaks for itself. Being debt-free just shows how successful the foundation of which was laid upon all 3 of us here that's running is. And then the priorities, I want the youth to know, hey, you have a voice. It's time to get involved. And I think people older, more mature, and people my age are kind of excited to see a young buck, I would say, on the ticket. So.
All right, thank you very much. Next question will come from Wanye Reese. We're back around, so we'll start with Mr. Gottwals.
Yes, so is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Board of Commissioners?
Yeah, I think we're doing something wrong if we aren't doing everything possible to support Robins Air Force Base, I think first and foremost. So, the commission does have a role in that, in supporting that community. So I think at the heart of it, I think that's what brings so much of our culture, so much of the diversity, so much of what makes this area so wonderful. But yeah, also too, kind of like what Zach said a little while ago, I don't have any intention on going anywhere either. And I've got 5 little ones that need to grow up in this community, and also have a business that is based out of this community and started in this community. So there's just so much of my life that's just wrapped up in a few square miles, as many square miles in Houston County, being our largest, one of the largest counties in Middle Georgia. But I think it's all of that. It's kind of the feel-good stuff. That's really the core of it. And I just hope that I can stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before us on this commission and do just as good of a job moving forward.
All right, Mr. Ivester, a particular issue that motivates you to run?
So growth and retention here in the county, I think it's very important that we manage the growth responsibly. In my youth in high school, we always said, we want you to come back after college to live here in Houston County. But I think in order to address that issue, we need to have someone that can connect to the young families, to the young generation, and say, what do we need and what do we need to offer to the young generation to get them to come back to Houston County? Because when you leave a legacy, you're leaving it to the next generation. And I believe that my generation brings forth a great wealth of knowledge and to thrive to serve others. So.
Mr. Williams, a particular issue motivating you to run for the commission?
Well, the biggest issue is our citizens. I look at folks who don't have access to our current county commissioners that are needing information. I have array of relationships, and I didn't start these relationships because I decided to run for county commissioner. These relationships are lifelong, and they're all over the county, involving folks from different cultures, different backgrounds, and different religions. It really doesn't matter. They need a voice as well, and I'm open to them to give me a call, to talk with me, and I can share information with them and help this community continue to thrive and to continue to grow.
All right, we're continuing our question and answer session. Not quite yet halfway through this format right now. So the next question comes from April Bragg, and Mr. Ivester, you're first up here.
Yes, so speaking to the future, what is your vision for the future of Houston County, and what needs to happen in order to get us there?
Okay, so that's a great question. I think in order to promote growth in the futures, we need to offer more services, more development, more opportunity, and ultimately more life for the citizens of Houston County. And you do that through encouraging small businesses, because other than Robbins Air Force Base, small businesses are the backbone. Even here at Robbins Regional Chamber of Commerce, it's the backbone, and we got to get behind them to let them know, hey, we stand strong with you. And that's one thing COVID did. It showed that we stand strong, and we are Houston County grown, and we're proud of that. So I want to promote more people. Hey, let's invest into small businesses. Let's invest into a downtown development such as Perry. I think it's much needed, and it brings forth great growth and revenue to small businesses. So.
All right, Mr. Williams, your vision for the future of Houston County.
Well, my vision is definitely growth, and also continue to strengthen those relationships we have with the municipalities, with Robbins Air Force Base, with large industry, small business, and the other community organizations that we have in our area. But also, we have to look outside our area as well as far as the region. We are a leader in our region. We're the largest MSA outside of Atlanta. So we have to continue to be that leader, be financially strong, and continue to support not only Houston County, but continue to encourage those other areas to grow as well. We're now bringing in new industry. We just had an announcement this evening of 800 new jobs coming to Houston County. That's great for Houston County, but it's also great for our region. Thank you.
All right, we'll finish up the question on the vision for Houston County's future with Mr. Gottwals.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a minute ago about standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, there's a long list of folks who have served on this commission that have been very frugal, have been very wise. I mean, we have right now, there's 10 months worth of cash reserve. You know, if we didn't take in another dime of tax revenue, we can operate this county for 10 months. I mean, when you have cash, as I've learned in a business, when you have cash, big doors open. There are things that we can just continue to do, being fiscally conservative. It gives us a lot more options than our neighbors might have. And I think with all that said, I mean, you then give it to the departments in the county to then do the great job that you've called them to do. So we're there to give resources as commissioners and let these wonderful department heads and all these workers go off and do the things they've been hired for that they know how to do a whole lot better than I do. And I think with that attitude, that's when you empower employees, you see growth, you see development, and you see a passion going into everything we do in Houston County.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now continue with our question and answer. The next question comes from Wanye Reese. Mr. Williams, you'll have first shot at this one.
Yeah, so this next question is going to be a two-part question. So the first part, in your view, what are the major issues that you believe are facing our county right now, and how would you address those issues?
Okay. Well, one of the major issues is with our public safety. Our sheriff's department, they're low on staff, and we definitely need to do something to encourage folks to come work in Houston County, but also support them. Those men and women put their lives on the line each and every day for the safety of our citizens, and we need to make sure we're supporting them. Now, what can we do with that? Well, that's one of those things where you have to, once I become commissioner, that I'll get a chance to sit down with Sheriff Touton, with some of the other folks, and then look at what's the best way to attract new hires to Houston County. And I think that's one of our biggest issues right now in the county is our personnel. We want to make sure we keep the best personnel possible.
All right, thank you. The major issue facing Houston County, how would you address that, Mr. Gottwals?
I mean, I won't be, Pollyanna-ish about this, but it is hard to find a lot of major, just endemic problems. But probably the biggest one that has stood out to me is compensation for county employees. And there has been, recently, great work in that to give some pay increases. Love to see merit-based increases come back, but it has to be when it's sustainable. But the only way that we can continue to put more money into the pockets of the people that are really making this county hum is to be fiscally conservative and budget-minded, and maybe that sometimes means not even spending all the budget that we have for our various departments that have been approved. So again, our county isn't perfect. I won't be the first person to say that, but that would be the one thing that really stands out, is really making sure that we're equipping those and keeping those folks happy that make everything work.
We finish up on the question of major issues in the county and how you would address it. Mr. Ivester.
So I believe the number one issue that we're facing here in the county is employment, recruitment, and retention. I believe that we need to give the employees, because they're our greatest asset here to our county, we need to give them a voice, let them know that, hey, we as commissioners, we hear you, and you're not going unheard. And that's through all departments. Public Works, they have some issues that we need to address, some new equipment through the Sheriff's Office, through EMS. We need more personnel, response times, through County Fire. We probably need a little bit more career firemen than volunteer, because after 5 o'clock, the response times drastically go up. And I think that's something we need to look into, is giving back to the personnel, because second saves lives. So.
All right, our next question comes from April Bragg. Mr. Gottwals, you will take this one first.
Growth is a recurring theme of our discussion tonight. How would you work with the board and administrative staff to ensure the county is meeting the needs created by this continued growth, specifically relating to infrastructure and services?
Yeah, no. That's one thing that just comes up over and over and over, and I had to learn some of it the hard way just in our business, was hiring people and then allowing them to do the job that you actually hired them for is part of it. So what the commission does, and a very close friend, he knows the Houston County government, he told me a couple weeks ago, he said, remember what a commissioner is all about. Commissioner is there to fund the departments so that they can then get the job accomplished. You know, that's the primary role. So I've learned that, in a very difficult way of trying to micromanage too much. What I need to do is equip. When I hire someone and give them a title, that's what they're there to do. When they need things, they come to me. I mean, this is all just very practical business stuff that I've just been learning the hard way in many ways over these last 15 years with Gottwals books. But I think I'll take that same attitude into the leadership position.
All right, managing the growth in Houston County, which is explosive. Mr. Ivester, how do you go about that?
So, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. We have to manage this growth responsibly and let small businesses know, hey, we stand behind you. And through that, we're going to see more businesses come forward and say, hey, I want to offer the citizens of Houston County more services. And when you offer more services, we invest into the infrastructure, through roads, through transportation. Transportation, it comes back to public safety. If we don't invest into the infrastructure, we're kind of putting the lives of the citizens at risk, and that's not something I'm willing to do. So that's something I'm willing to attack from day one, is looking into investing into small businesses and the infrastructure, because they both correlate to Houston County.
Houston County is growing. How do you manage that growth, Mr. Williams?
Well, there's no INT, so you have to have a team, and our commissioners are going to be a great team. But we also have to look at the folks who have served in these leadership positions for over 20 years. You have Tim Andrews over at Building Inspector, and you have Robbie Dunbar with Public Works, and then you have Angie Giesland, who's been working with the Houston County Development Authority. You have to basically pull those folks together, and then you come up with a plan. And once you do that, you can basically enact that plan and work toward what needs to happen to manage the growth of Houston County.
All right, I believe we have time for one final question. That question will come from Wanye Reese, and it goes to Mr. Ivester first.
All right, so this will be the last question for all of you. So we know that most of the county's general fund revenues are derived from property taxes. So how do you plan to raise the revenues to take on new programs, services, and personnel that we've heard all of you all talk about this evening?
So, interesting question. I believe in taxes. Houston County has a tax cap. That's important for all of us up here to realize there is a tax cap on Houston County. And it's responsible for the tax dollars provided by the citizens to be used responsibly. But the real question, I feel, is how do we use those funds, less funds but more services? And that's something I want to look into. I don't want to raise taxes on anyone. That's the wrong motive to do to increase revenue. But you need to look and see how can we adjust some budgeting issues to increase the revenue for certain departments within the county.
All right, the question deals with raising money for all the different programs you'd like to implement. Mr. Williams, how do you go about that?
Well, as we stated, our county has a tax cap. So raising taxes really is not an option, even though we're not the max of the millage rate at this point. But our folks and our department heads have done a great job in managing the resources thus far. Our county commissioner sets the budget, and the commissioners implement that budget, and our managers have basically over the years have come in under budget, and they get rewarded for that. And I think we have to continue to do that. Yes, the county is growing. You have more subdivisions, more people coming, but we also more industry coming as well. And I think that's how you basically help. You increase the revenue, and how do you do that? With industry coming in, small business, and also bringing more individuals in. Thank you.
All right, trying to implement programs and things to help the county. Mr. Gottwals, how do you go about raising money for that?
Yeah, I think we're kind of the victim of our own success in some ways. I mean, some of this tax revenue is going to continue growing, and we're seeing it. We saw it last year. We're seeing it this year, just with property taxes increasing. Really, what's happening is the value. Everything's being reassessed. The tax digest is going up. The value of our property is worth even more. I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, this is great news for Houston County. But I do know at the core of it, we don't raise revenues by raising taxes. That's not the answer. The answer is you create a business-friendly climate. You develop your educational system, you build community. I mean, you do all these things that make this a wonderful place to come to so that more books get sold, more services get rendered, on and on and on. And there goes revenues, there goes development, there goes money in the pockets of this community. And then, of course, that translates into more money for the county government, just naturally. And then we can do more and more and make this community an even better place to live, work, play, and worship.
Well, we want to thank our candidates for Houston County Commission Post 2. Certainly, the question and answer session is now over. It's now time for closing statements. Each candidate will get 1 minute for the closing statement. Mr. Williams, we'll start it off with you.
Okay. Well, I want to first thank everyone for supporting me during this run in this campaign. It's been a blessing to see how many folks really want me to succeed at this. God has blessed me to serve in so many capacities already in my life, and I just felt like this is the time for Steve Williams to step up and serve, because our commission needs to resemble our community. And it was time for Steve Williams to step up and be that person for the entire county and be that voice for people that are currently unheard of.
All right, Mr. Ivester, your turn. 1 minute closing statement, please.
So if it's okay with you, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of you for a second. But I think it's so exciting just to see my supporters see that there's some young blood coming in. And I think through collaboration and diversity that we're going to see Houston County prosper even more than what it already is. I have been beyond blessed to have made countless relationships with business leaders and department leaders, and just to form an overall working and respectable relationship with each and every person. One thing that I will caveat is I am actually a PVSA award, which is a Presidential Volunteer Service Award recipient, which just acknowledges someone for their acts of community service, trying to promote positive change around the world. And I think that's something I want to do, is I want to bring positive change, but not rock the boat, to the Houston County Commissioners. Thank you.
And we'll wrap things up. 1 minute closing statement, Mr. Gottwals.
I'll end it philosophically. So there's my favorite author, C.S. Lewis. He wrote, "If I find within myself a desire for which nothing on this earth can satisfy, I know that I'm made for another world." And I think that's just a philosophy that I live with. It's just, there are bigger purposes. There's more to this life than what we see, than what we're doing. So ultimately, that needs to frame every action that you take. And so when you consider service and all these other words that we've used, I mean, it's if you're looking at it from an internal perspective, of course, I mean, as a Christian personally, you see things and you approach everything differently. People are people. Service is service. There's selflessness involved, and I'm not always perfect with that, but I do feel like I have the right attitude. I feel like these gentlemen have the right attitude as well, to take this seriously, to serve well, and to really make the people of our community proud.
Thank you all very much. Houston County is certainly a booming community, and certainly we've seen examples of folks who want to be a part of that growth and are willing to take the time to serve. We want to thank Steve Williams, Zachary Ivester, and Shane Gottwals for taking time to be here, to thoughtfully give answers to the questions that have been asked, and for also being willing to serve. Serving can be a difficult position, and we certainly appreciate that. We also want to thank you very much to Wanye Reese and April Bragg. Thank you for taking time to ask the questions today, to give viewers the opportunity to hear from the candidates that they will be voting for. Early voting underway May 2nd, and of course, Election Day, May 24th. These are key positions. Folks always say, my voice won't be heard. Well, your voice will be heard. You've heard tonight from these people who want your vote. So take the time to thoughtfully digest what they said and then make your decision. Thanks very much for being with us. Hello and welcome, and thanks for joining us for this Houston County Political Forum. We appreciate you having along. It is sponsored by Robbins Regional Chamber, and right now you're going to meet the candidates for Houston County Commission Post 4, and those candidates are Jackie Rozier and Tal Talton. We certainly appreciate them taking time and their willingness to serve. They will be here giving you their thoughts on where they stand on the issues and why they think you should elect them to Houston County Commission Post 4. They'll be fielding questions from April Bragg. She is the president and CEO of Robbins Regional Chamber, and from Wanye Reese, 13 WMAZ morning anchor. We certainly appreciate their willingness to serve as well. We will start with opening statements. Each candidate will get 2 minutes for the opening statement. Ms. Rozier, we'll start with you.
First, I'd like to give honor to Jesus Christ, who is the author and finisher of my faith, and to MAZ and Robbins Regional Management for staff for this forum and the viewing audience. When I'm elected as the Post 4 County Commissioner, I am your servant. I am, and I will donate any commissioner salary or pay to Houston County charities, churches, and nonprofit organizations. I'm a U.S. veteran, from the Air Force, and I came to this county about 47 years ago. I'm a Robbins Air Force Base retiree, and my husband I've been married to him for 46 years, and he also is a Army veteran and also a Robbins Air Force Base retiree. While I was in the military, I completed my Bachelor of Business Administration degree, and I have 2 master's degrees from Georgia College and State University. My church affiliation is Greater Springfield Missionary Baptist Church here in Warner Robins. I've already met met with the elected and appointed city and county officials to get informed on the processes that they use to manage our county, and I look forward to being a part of that great team. I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to hit the ground running. As a public sector and education and business administration and business knowledge, I appreciate your vote on May 24th to continue the Houston County growth and progress.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Rozier. Tal Talton, 2-minute opening statement, please.
Yes, sir. I'd like to also start off thanking the Robbins Regional Chamber and 13 for allowing this opportunity to do this. This is something that I always knew. I am Tal Talton. I'm running for the Post 4 position. I'm a 4th generation dairy farmer, born and raised in this county. My roots run deep here. This county is very special and near and dear to my heart. My wife of going on 13 years, she's a nurse in this town, and my kids are part of they are in the public school system in this county. And this is one of those things that I always knew at a young age that I wanted to serve this county in some capacity. It's been more than good to me and my family. I believe we were all put on this earth to be servants, and I come from a long line of leaders, and I just want to continue to provide a safe place for our next generation to live and work and have the same opportunities that I did. I could have gone anywhere in the world to work or live, but Houston County, I feel it provides everything that a family could ever need or want to be prosperous in life.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now start with our question and answer session. First question will come from Wanye Reese. Mr. Talton, you'll have the first chance to answer.
Yeah, so this question will be for the both of you all. What do you believe uniquely qualifies you to serve as a county commissioner?
I believe that I think my honesty and integrity, and I feel I'm a very approachable person. My job is to work for the citizens of Houston County, to be the ears and bring new ideas into the county. We have great leaders now. I have a relationship with those leaders, and look forward to building on to that. And whether it be the Robbins Air Force Base or our local governments or surrounding counties, even state levels, just to do whatever it takes to continue this county in the direction to prepare for growth for the future.
All right, the question is about unique qualifications to be a county commissioner. Ms. Rozier, 1 minute for your response, please.
Well, one of the things that I have is a great breadth and depth of experience and knowledge. Being a Robbins Air Force Base employee, I've gone from purchasing agent to chief of quality assurance, touched airplanes, touched avionics equipment, I'm also was a chief of supply systems at Robins Air Force Base, where I touched computers. I'm also a tax preparer, a budgeter, and I've also dealt with the probate courts. So I have a breadth and depth of experience and knowledge that will benefit this county.
Our next question will come from April Bragg. Ms. Rozier, you'll have the first chance to answer.
Yes, thank you both. Again, it is evident that you are dedicated servant leaders in your own right. But beyond the opportunity to give back to our community, why are you running for this position? Specifically, if elected, what will your priorities be?
Much is given, much is required. Houston County has been a very good county for me and my family. We've grown tremendously. The Lord has definitely blessed my family and me. But I also believe that because of that, I have an inclination to give. Therefore, I have a heart for the seniors. I have a heart for law enforcement. I have a heart for infrastructure, budgeting, accountability with Robins Air Force Base, and making sure that we keep that relationship open and honest and good, and also recruitment and retention of our citizens, and also recruitment and retention of new businesses that will help us grow our tax base and also keep us in the place where we are now, growing.
All right, the question is about why run for county commissioner, Mr. Touton.
Like I said, this county is near and dear to me, and I just want to, like I said, it's our current and past leaders have done such a great job of paving the way for my generation to have an opportunity to serve in this county, and I just want to ensure that we have the safety, infrastructure for growth. We provide what's needed for our schools, and just continue to have this Houston County be a great place to live and be prosperous.
All right, next question comes from Wanye Reese. It goes to Mr. Touton first.
So is there a particular issue that's motivating you right now to serve on the Board of Commissioners?
I would say staffing probably on the county level. Of course, it's a problem every business is facing these days. But I would say staffing is big. We have to be competitive, and we have to with our salaries and benefits. And I would say employment is probably number one. Being short-staffed, especially on I know our county jail and sheriff's office is facing that right now, and without law and order, you don't have a whole lot in a county, in a successful county.
All right, a hot button issue prompting you to run, Ms. Rozier.
Growth as well as community involvement. I've been out in the communities and I've been talking to our citizens, and a lot of them are frustrated about things that they may or may not understand. And so I've taken the time to go and talk to the city leaders. I've gone and taken time to talk to the department heads who are responsible for all the conditions and situations that we are involved in. And I've gotten a lot of knowledge myself. I'm willing to share that. Those issues, especially when it comes to taxation, revaluation, etc., make it possible for us to have a growing community, but we have to also understand and not leave people behind in reference to senior citizens who have limited who have limited income. We have to also be considerate of them, and then I found out that there are tax exemptions available for them. So I want to share that information with the community and make them aware of all the things that are available to them by the county commissioners.
All right, continue with our question and answer. The next question comes from April Bragg. Ms. Rozier, you'll have the first chance to answer.
So growth is clearly a recurring theme tonight. What is your vision for what Houston County looks like 10 years from now? And what changes would you advocate for and why today?
I would advocate, of course, continued growth and development. With that, the tax base will be able to continue to grow, and would also could mitigate some of the property tax issues that we may be having. I realize that with Houston County being such a great county to live in, that our valuation on our houses will go up too, because people are willing to come to this community and share in the great things that we've had in this community. Therefore, I want to encourage small businesses. I want to create enterprise zones work with the cities and small towns in Houston County. Warner Robins, Centerville, and Perry are doing great things. Maybe we can implement that at the county level so that all of us citizens can benefit. Robins Air Force Base is a continued great employer in this area, and therefore we need to continue to keep our resources open and foster a great relationship with them.
All right, the question deals with vision for Houston County future 10 years and further down the road. Mr. Talton.
I would say growth is number one. We have to provide the infrastructure, and we have to, we have to have opportunity for new business here. Without growth, growth is big. We have to, like I said, whether it be our safety or let's see. We just have to ensure that we're paving the way for the next generation.
All right, we're a little over halfway through our forum with our questions for our candidates, Jackie Rozier and Tal Talton. We continue now with Wanye Reese. Mr. Talton, you'll have the first crack at this question.
And we've already heard about some problems and issues that you all have both brought up this evening. So what, in your view, right now are major issues that you feel that we're seeing here in our county, and how would you address them?
I think it kind of goes back to employment. I think without good, we've got great leaders now, and we have to keep those leaders and take care of our citizens, and we just have to. I think that's what we need to do.
All right, Ms. Rozier, major issue in Houston County. How do you go about solving that?
Well, there are some major issues that that affect all of us. One of them being blight. The bottom line is to work with the code enforcement and allow them to have some authorization to ticket or to do the things that's necessary to get the private owner's attention, so that they will be able to either that or ask them to donate the property back to the county. That way, we'll be able to repurpose those lands and what have you for parks, green spaces, and community gardens. Also, safety, Robins Air Force Base, growing businesses, and increasing our tax base with attracting businesses to come to our community.
All right, next question comes from April Bragg. Ms. Rozier, you'll go first on this one.
So staying on the topic of growth, Houston County is obviously continuing to grow and at all areas. How would you work with the board and administrative staff to ensure the county is meeting the needs created by this continual growth, specifically as it relates to infrastructure and services?
When I was a supervisor, the three things that I had to do was equip, train, and give my employees the tools that they needed. That's exactly what I need to do as a county commissioner. I have to work with them, so it has to be teamwork. It has to be those things that we all agree with that are important to the county as a whole. I can't be a personal individual in teamwork. So therefore, I need to be a part of the team and also work with the community to find out what their sentiments are. Therefore, we all can grow as a community together.
All right, addressing the growth needs of Houston County as it continues to explode. Mr. Talton.
Like I said, we have to work with our leaders, not just city leaders, but the leaders in the community, small business owners, the Robins Air Force Base leaders, just making sure they have what they need to continue that and to maintain and continue a great place to live.
All right, next question from Wanye Reese. It goes to Mr. Talton first.
Yes, we've heard you all both talk about employee retention and also starting up new services and programs. So keeping that in mind, most of the county's general funds and revenues are derived from property taxes. So how do you plan to raise the revenues in order to take on these new programs, services, and personnel we've heard you all talk about this evening?
Me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely not raise taxes for sure. I think we have to we have to look at ways to bring in new industry. When you bring in new industry, obviously you bring in homes, and with that you increase your tax base. And I know Houston County, they have a SPLOST, which also aids in that, and it's something voted on by the citizens of the county. And I think that's very important, and to help with that.
All right, Ms. Rozier, how do you raise money for programs you'd like to implement?
We're definitely going to have to attract new businesses. We can't tax for tax sake. For example, we do have a tax cap in this county. Therefore, because we have a tax cap, it would take all the voters in the county and possibly even the state to raise the taxes for us to do what we need to do. Therefore, that makes us responsible to attract businesses into this area for them to share the tax base, and also at the same time be a good manager of our resources and our funds. We do have a requirement to balance our budget every year, and as far as I know, that there is an audit that's conducted at similar times or right before the fiscal year ends. Therefore, this county is very fiscally responsible, and I think we need to continue that.
All right, time now for our final question. That will come from April Bragg. It goes to Ms. Rozier first.
Okay. So our final question, obviously it's no secret that Robins Air Force Base is the economic engine of Middle Georgia, and it takes strategic partnerships in order to provide critical community support for Robins. How would you describe the county's current relationship with Robins, and what are your plans to enhance those relationships?
As far as I know, we have a great relationship with Robins. I can go out there anytime I get ready because I have a pass to get out there. But at the same time, though, we do have a relationship with our county commissioners and the city leaders, because the base personnel wants to work with us. That's where their people live. That's where most of the people in Houston County live and play and work. Therefore, it's incumbent on all of us to get along. Get along. And so the 21st Century Partnership is, I think, the civilian arm that goes out to attract businesses and what have you. Therefore, we can always talk to the commanders. They're also a part of the county commissioners' meetings. Therefore, we have to continue that relationship and hopefully do better.
All right. Working on a relationship with Robins Air Force Base, Mr. Talton.
Yeah, I think we have a great one now. I think we just need to keep that and just make sure the needs are met. To continue that relationship and just build on that. Just like to sit down and talk with them and see what they need to continue to have a good relationship.
And we'll now finish up with closing statements. Each candidate will get 1 minute. Mr. Talton, we'll start with you.
Yes, well, again, thank everybody for allowing this opportunity. Again, I just want to thank my wife and my kids for allowing me this opportunity. This is not a sacrifice just for me, but this is a sacrifice for them as well, and I want to thank them for that. And thank you so much for the support that I've seen so far. It's been overwhelming. I just want to continue to ask for your trust in me, and just please gonna need your vote May 24th in this upcoming election. Thank you.
And we'll finish up. Ms. Rozier, 1 minute.
I love and want to support the Houston County. I am a active voter and have been a voter registration worker and a poll worker. I want the county members to get to know me better, residents to know me better. I've been out there with them. For example, I'm a blood donor, and as a elected official, I think because we have a critical need of blood, it would be nice to have an elected official out there rolling up their arms. Maybe it will inspire someone else to roll up their arms, roll up their sleeves, and donate blood. I've also participated in the Perry Trash Dash, and also look forward to participating in other similar events around the county, because I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I've met with elected officials and attended every commissioner meeting since I declared my candidacy, because I want to familiarize myself with their role in Houston County government. I've also been involved with the city governments, and I appreciate your time.
Well, we want to thank our two candidates for Houston County Commission Post 4, Jackie Rozier and Tal Towton. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We want to thank April Bragg, Robbins Regional Chamber President and CEO, and Wanye Reese, 13 WMAZ morning anchor, for their time. Again, Election Day is May 24th. Take what you learn, take it to the ballot box, and thanks for watching.